Listen, if you've played fantasy football for any length of time, you know one of the scariest things to do as a grown adult is take a stab on some of these studs coming off injuries. Should you do it? Should you be scared? We're talking about a few of them right now.
Yeah. Analytics off the chain, all the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game.
What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today, where yes, we have a few studs that we're talking about here in 2022 fantasy football that we don't know if we should be scared or not, right? I mean, they're coming off of injuries. They've dealt with multiple injuries, coming off of surgeries, whatever it may be. Do we want to take a risk on some of these guys? Are we just going to kind of stay away? Now, it's early in the offseason. It's only April. So obviously, the more time that goes on, the more information we get on these players, the better we can make, some solid opinions. However, these are some names you need to pay attention to. I got 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers, including a guy inside the top 5. So you want to stay tuned for that. But we're not going to waste a whole lot of time here. If you enjoy getting right into the content, do me a favor, hit that like button, because here we go. The first guy we're going to talk about is this top 5 guy. It's Christian McCaffrey, and I get an unhealthy amount of comments on a weekly basis asking about Christian McCaffrey. Should we be worried about Christian McCaffrey? Is he worth the first-round pick, Christian McCaffrey? It's hard, right? Because obviously, when the guy's on the field, he produces, and we've seen that here for multiple years, but now this is back-to-back seasons in which he's missing at least 10 games. That is not ideal from a fantasy football perspective, but they're freak injuries, right? It's not like this guy is continually getting hurt with major injuries that he's trying to work back from. No, but like I just said, when he's on the field, this dude is a total fantasy stud. I mean, look at 2020. He averaged 27 points per game when playing, the highest among all players all year long. Last year, in 2021, in games in which he played, averaged 15.6 fantasy points per game, which was good enough for 8th overall on the year. Now, he's on pace once again to fall inside the top 5, and that absolutely terrifies me. Why does it terrify me? It's because he's playing in Carolina, and things just aren't great in Carolina, right? We got quarterback questions that we know of. The coaching blunders. How many more people can Matt Rule blame before he points the finger at himself? That's a question mark. They just added Donta Foreman. They already have Chuba Hubbard in the backfield. Do I expect those guys to come take over the role of Christian McCaffrey? Hell no, I don't. However, if we have guys that are out there getting a couple touches a week, those are just a couple touches that maybe we're used to having Christian McCaffrey get in the past. That's why the numbers were so inflated. Now, a lot of people are going to come back and say, well, yeah, he got so many touches, he couldn't sustain that. That's why he's always hurt. I am not arguing with you. But if he gets less touches, there's also a chance for less points as well. When it comes down to this is what I'm going to say. I don't trust Matt Rule. I don't know if you trust Matt Rule or not, but there's nothing that I've seen with Matt Rule in Carolina that leads me to believe that they have a purpose right now. It just doesn't make sense. Now, I want Christian McCaffrey to bounce back. I don't think I want to take that risk on my fantasy team here as of right now. I mean, anyone can get injured. It's not like you're going to say, hey, listen, I'm going to pass on Christian McCaffrey because I want to draft a guy who's not going to get hurt, but there's no way of knowing if that guy's going to get hurt or not either. But in my opinion, we've been burned for multiple years here. It's a bad situation in Carolina with poor quarterback play. They're adding depth at the position. It just screams to, take away some of that volume. Honestly, I would prefer to maybe play it a little bit safer here this season and even go with a guy like Dalvin Cook, who himself not going to probably play all 17 games, but we know he's going to get volume. And even if he does miss 2 or 3 games, he's still on pace to get more than Christian McCaffrey, right? Najee Harris, another guy, similar vicinity, could get huge volume, not really overly concerned about past injuries. What about Joe Mixon coming off of a huge year? Now their offensive line has improved, one of the better offenses overall. I feel a little bit more comfortable as of right now taking the Dalvin Cooks, the Najee Harrises, the Joe Mixons before the Christian McCaffreys here in the first round. Austin Eckler, another name that I love up there early. There's just too many other guys that early in the draft that I would rather have. Personally, Nick Chubb is a little bit safer. I know people want to say, oh, well, Chubb doesn't score 20 points a week. Well, yeah, there's like 6 guys that maybe do that. So trying to find a guy, I think what it is everybody wants their entire lineup to score 20 points apiece, and it just doesn't work that way. But safer guys, right? Definitely safer guys. I'm not saying I'm going to take Nick Chubb here at number 5 by any means, not yet. But I feel as of right now, I'm a little bit off the CMC bandwagon. Who is up next? How about we go to... Let's go to J.K. Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, loved me. I'm talking about loved some J.K. Dobbins in 2021. And damn it, I love him again here in 2022. His ability and his opportunity are off the charts for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, a lot of people, I feel like, have forgotten about J.K. Dobbins. This is definitely a guy in which, if given 200 to 250 touches, we're talking about top 10 potential, and everybody's kind of like, he's okay, he's good, but coming off the torn ACL, do we really want to deal with that? And then we say, hey, Gus Edwards is back, but Gus Edwards coming off his own torn ACL, and at this point in time, J.K. Dobbins a little bit further along in his rehab than a Gus Edwards. We know that Gus Edwards isn't there to catch passes, and that's something J.K. Dobbins can do pretty well, but most importantly, they play on a team, a run-heavy team that can absorb the volume for both of these guys, plus Lamar Jackson. We've seen it happen before. Why do we not expect it to happen again? You know, the Baltimore Ravens want to keep Lamar Jackson on the field. They did not, benefit from him missing time last year. How do they do that? Do they want him to stop running? No, because you don't want to take away one of his best attributes, but maybe you want to limit it a little bit and shoulder a little bit more of that load on the running game. Last year, they were just putting pieces together, whether it was Devontae Freeman, Latavius Murray, Lev Bell, whatever it was just a hodgepodge mess. J.K. Dobbins, definitely somebody who can take the reins, carry this, and be a 3-down capable running back in this backfield when healthy. Like I said, Gus Edwards not overly known for his pass-catching ability. That will still go the way of J.K. Dobbins. A few targets a game will go a long way. Plus, the risk is a lot less. Why is it a lot less with J.K. Dobbins? You're not having to spend a first-round pick on him. He could actually probably be your running back 3 if you go heavy running back early in your drafts. There's a chance that he could fall to late 3rd, early 4th, and if that's the case, as my weekly flex play with that type of upside, I am not scared off of J.K. Dobbins whatsoever. What about a wide receiver? What about Chris Godwin? Now, we know Tampa Bay is not worried about him. How do we know that? Jake Easley, they just paid him, right? 3 years, $60 million, and he should be good to go by week 1. His offseason may not be what it was here in years past. They may not have him as much. However, he's familiar with this offense. Tom Brady has come back. We know that the chemistry is there between both of these guys. Now, Tampa Bay did also bring in Russell Gage. I expect them to bring Gronk back as well. We already know they have Mike Evans. No more Ronald Jones, but we got playoff regular season. Put some respect on my name. Leonard Fournette in the backfield still. Plenty of volume in this offense. One of the highest powered offenses in all of the land. And even though Bruce Arians isn't the coach, that's not going to change now. They're still going to utilize everybody here in this offense. But the wide receiver position is just so deep, right? When you get to the point in your draft, when you're looking at guys like a Chris Godwin, they're also going to be surrounded by other guys like maybe a Michael Pittman or even an Amari Cooper. And when you look at those options, they're not bad options, right? They're just really not, because it would not surprise me if Godwin starts the season a little bit slow. Maybe you're okay with that. Maybe you nail the first couple rounds of your draft. Maybe it's just something where you feel super confident that you can take a risk on Godwin, and then maybe you draft a little bit of extra depth at the position just to make sure you're good for those first couple weeks. I don't hate that whatsoever. If you've taken some risks already, though, right around the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round, do I then want to risk it again in the 4th with Chris Godwin? I probably don't. So it's really going to depend, in my opinion, on how the first couple rounds of your draft go. Do I want to say I'm out on Godwin? No, I don't want to say that whatsoever. Not just yet. There are other options that are safer around him, but if I haven't taken a risk, maybe that's when I look the way of Chris Godwin. As of right now, he is projecting to be right around a 4th round pick, but I don't expect to have a lot of him, if I'm honest here right now, because honestly, at that point in the draft in the 4th round, more than likely, I'm going running back, depending on what's available, right? Obviously, if there's no one there, then yeah, I'm looking at the wide receiver position, but I try to knock down 3 running backs in my first 4 picks, and it just seems to work out the way of getting a running back there in the 4th, because you get some great value. What if it's J.K. Dobbins in the 4th, right? What if he falls to the 4th? I would rather take the risk on Dobbins over Godwin, because there's more depth at wide receiver than there is at running back, if that makes any sense to you out there. Just all depends, right? Gonna have to take it by a case-by-case scenario. Not gonna say you should be scared of Chris Godwin just yet, but kind of just know that you can start a little bit slow. And can you weather that storm to start the season? There's some great value later in drafts, though, where maybe you can get that added depth and be just fine. So make sure you're always paying attention to ADPs so you know where people are landing once we get a little bit closer. Lastly, I have to bring up this name because I feel like we heard a lot about Michael Thomas with the whole Deshaun Watson news, right? Everybody was like, man, if Watson goes there, he's got Michael Thomas. And all of a sudden, everybody hopped back on the Michael Thomas bandwagon, even though the guy really hasn't done anything in a while, right? I'm actually kind of surprised people have as much interest in him as they really do. I mean, he has been a walking headache now for 2 years, and he has basically given his own team the finger multiple years in a row now, yet everybody just looks at Michael Thomas like he's the savior there. I mean, I think we're just too hung up on all the production we saw in 2019. I hate to break it to you. It was a great year in 2019, but he had a Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees and an offense with Sean Payton. Now, he ain't got either. Right, he got Jameis back. Jameis out there on his crutches, you know, I mean, he's dancing and stuff, but he ain't Drew Brees, okay? And even though there's not a lot of options in this offense, I do expect them to try to add somebody here in the draft, maybe even at the wide receiver position. Maybe they get totally crazy and go after a quarterback, and then you have a quarterback controversy midway through the season. It's going to be a hot mess. Now, if it was just the injuries to Michael Thomas, if we're talking about nothing but injuries, maybe I give him a little bit of a pass and say, hey, maybe he's somewhat capable of coming back and having himself a decent year. It just doesn't seem like this guy is overly committed to this team, though. I just don't see that. He just walks away at times. He's very diva-ish when it comes to the wide receiver position. Now, the price ain't bad. Right, price is pretty cheap. He could actually fall into the 5th or 6th round here this year. But if you ask me, I don't want that headache. I really want nothing to do with that headache. And maybe you're looking at like projected ADPs. Who else would be around that position that you may be more interested in? If you're asking me personally, give me Courtland Sutton, give me Hunter Renfrow, give me Allen Robinson, because as of right now, they're all projecting to be in the same, spot as Michael Thomas come draft time. I'll take my shot on either one of those guys over Michael Thomas just because I don't want to deal with the headache that comes along with him. The talent is there. The commitment, not entirely sold on the commitment right now, and I would prefer to just go a different way right there. So am I scared off of Michael Thomas? No, I just prefer to not get pissed off at my roster here in 2022 if he decides to just throw up his hands and walk away again for a few weeks. I don't want to deal with that, but here's what's great about it. We have a lot of time to discuss these guys, and I want to know what you guys think down below in the comment section. How do you feel personally about Christian McCaffrey, J.K. Dobbins, Chris Godwin, and Michael Thomas? Are you scared off of them at all because of the recent injuries? Or are you willing to take a stab on these guys? I'd like to know down below in the comment section. This is where we like to be interactive, right? I am doing my best to answer every comment on every one of my videos. It's tough, but I'm trying to do my best to get to every single one of you guys here in the offseason, so we have that opportunity to communicate back and forth. Looking forward to doing that. Hopefully you guys are having a great week here so far. Don't forget, we're announcing the winner of the signed Justin Jefferson jersey later on this week, so make sure you stay tuned. One of my future videos here in the coming days going to have that winner announced. Plus, we have a new item from our friends over at Pristine Auction to give away that you do not want to miss, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate that support. It helps us out here, especially in the offseason on YouTube. But for now, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day, a great week, and we'll talk to you later.